tusimame pamoja kulinda uhuru na umoja wetu. Enyi bwana na binti wa Afrika, mwili wa jua, mwili wa anga, tuifanye Afrika mti wa uzima. Tuungane sote tuimbe pamoja, kuenzi shikamano hatima yetu. Tujitoe wenyewe kupambana pamoja, uhuru na umoja vitawale.
Family, welcome to Humanist TV Africa. The name is Kwame Apigi Danka, and today we are with Dr. Mark Still. Doc is the founder of the Black Empowerment Movement. So today we have Doc with us, and we are to discuss the topic: the returned Asante artifacts, the symbolic relevance of the returned Asante artifacts. So, Doc, without wasting much time, how are you doing, Doc?
I'm fine. I hope you're all fine too.
We are doing great here. We are doing well. And from last week, Kumasi has been very busy, and from all the social media handles, people were talking about the returned Asante artifact from the United States of America. So today we are also to discuss something about this history in the military. So the returned artifacts were looted by the British, our colonialists, when they fought a war with the Asantes in 1874. And last week, Monday, was exactly 150 years this incident happened. So they came to Kumasi to loot Kumasi, to take whatever they can. But before that, there was this Formina Treaty in which Asante was supposed to pay around 50,000 ounces of gold to the to our colonialists, the British. And if history says me right, they failed to pay. So these looted artifacts were also the justifications that there are also justifications that these artifacts also belong to the British. So, Doc, what do you think about this? And what do you think about the whole scenario? And how can we make sense out of this?
When you are defeated in war, it is the conqueror who makes the rules. And so the rule that Ashanti had to pay so and so much of gold or whatever was made by the victors. And so it was all part of the war. We can all say it's part of the loot. So there is no justification for that. But come to the crux of it. These artifacts being returned it's a learning experience for us to study them and learn that our history, or in the olden days, they did this, they did that. This meant that we already had these symbols and we had meanings for them even before the white man came, which can always be linked to the Adinkra symbols to show that Ashanti would have eventually developed their own system of writing if the British hadn't interfered with the melting pot that was going on in the Ashanti Empire. But as to the commercial value of it, it's been loaned to Ashanti from the way I understand it. That means they'll take it back. And that is a very sad story. So it's like, are we legitimizing their current ownership of these artifacts by making them loan it to us, even if for one cedi? it means we are now agreeing that they are the legitimate owners. If they aren't, then what we have to be actually asking for is for them to return these artifacts to us permanently. And that is the first thing I have to say about it.
Okay, Doc. And listening to the Americans, the director of the museum, the lady said, legitimate, the artifact belong to them in law, but they have this moral obligation to return it to the place it belongs. So legally, it belongs to them, but morally, or it doesn't belong to them. But in legal terms, it belongs to the museum. It belongs to wherever it comes from. So, and returning it to Kumasi with Asante King, with all this pageantry, and later learning from you that they are loaning it to us. Is this some form of colonial master still trying to figure out ways for we the Africans?
Yes, in a way, I've already said that when we go take it as a loan from them, it means we are legitimizing their ownership, their current ownership, which should not be the case. We should actually be fighting for these things to be returned permanently to us. But as to what the law says and so on and so forth, it's their law, it's not our law. So we buying into their law, agreeing to their law, means, and the law will favor them. If they make the laws, they make laws which favor them, not laws which favor us.
Yes.
So it's been the same thing with you having a conversation. Somebody says their law says, their holy book says, their regulation says. No, we have to see it from our perspective. But like I said, today, when you see a Dinkra symbols, for instance, and you are teaching about it, or you are making references to them, people say, oh, maybe we copied these things from current, symbols, international symbols, that we are saying that Sankofa, we can go back to history because the whites or the Western world is already doing history, and then and so on and so forth. The other Dinkra symbols like Tikron Kwejina, and so on and so forth. Two heads are better than one. So people may think that we are just plagiarizing or copying from international symbols. But when we get these things back and then we see it, like we have pictures of it, like you are showing on the TV screen right now, people see it and they see that, yes, we already had these symbols and their meanings before the white man came to Ghana, or Ashanti for that matter. But once again, like I said, anybody who says the museum says by law, by whose law? Who made that law? For what? That is what we have to look at, the basis of the law. And I'm saying once again that we going to, take it from them as a loan is legitimizing their ownership of it. Unless we are going to state, you make a caveat about it that it is just for educational purpose or for something else. But otherwise, what we are doing right now is agreeing that they are the current legitimate owners. And don't forget, like you said, does it weave into the neo-colonialist narrative? If you take when they invaded Iraq, Libya, and so on and so forth, anytime they invade a country, although the country is financially self-sufficient, by the end of the invasion, the country actually has a huge debt, and the country becomes, almost destitute. So, apart from what they are calling artifacts, they are real gold, things that they actually stole. Not only these, but because probably they had not been made into art, nobody's talking about it. And it's the same thing that has happened to Libya with their oil, their bank accounts, and so on, wherever they go. And wherever there are some governments which are aligned to the West, there is this war on you. Sometimes these governments, which are Western puppets, they just say, oh, this money is missing. And then it resurfaces in Western banks. You remember Ghana recently, we said 60 point something billion cedis is unaccounted for. And so it's not only physical gold or, other source of money, but such other things is also going on, telling you how we are moving all our money to the West.
Okay, so Doc, so those of us who don't know the history and how the British invaded Kumasi and looted all these artifacts, if you can tell us how the British were able to, and what was the history behind it, if you can tell us.
The Ashanti were the rulers of Ghana, roughly, give or take. There were certain tribes which never succumbed to Ashanti rule, but give and take, Ashanti were the rulers of Ghana. There are small parts of what we now call Upper West and Upper East, which Ashanti never touched, Ashanti never reached. Other than that, for a large part of what we now call Ghana was more or less under Ashanti rule. But let's not hasten to say that they had been assimilated into the empire. That is a different thing altogether. But roughly speaking, Ashantis were the rulers of Ghana, or the biggest, or the hegemony of Ghana. Now, when the British came, or when the white man came, they wanted to trade with the people along the coast, the Fantis, the Ewes, the Gas, because they were in direct contact with them. But Ashanti felt we have power over that area too. So you either have to trade with them through us, or you have to pay tax in the trade you were doing there. And it didn't sound right to the British. So there were skirmishes, there were small battles every now and then, until they sent Charles McCarthy to come to Kumasi to find a way to sort of make peace with the Ashanti Empire. He came thinking that the Ashanti were some uncivilized bunch of, thugs that he was coming to confront. So he didn't prepare well. He came, he was defeated, and the Ashantis whipped the British. Later on, thereafter, Garnet Wolseley was brought, and he mobilized a bigger army, came and defeated Ashanti and burnt down Kumasi in 1874 in what is now known as the Garnet Sagranti War.
Yeah.
And so that is how British came to defeat Ashanti. And they wrote in the history books for us to learn that the Ashantis were warlike. The Ashantis were not warlike for nothing. Ashantis were warlike because they were the power, the hegemony. Today, America is the world hegemony, the world power, the world's policeman. So, do we say America is warlike? Yes, but with a reason. The same way Ashanti were warlike. Yes, but with a reason. And it's important for us to take away from it that the British didn't amass their troops all the way from Britain to come and fight Ashanti, which was impractical. What they did is that they come and then let's say they are coming to fight the Ashanti Empire, They mobilize the Hausas and Fulanis from Nigeria, Benin, and so on, and then they bring them to come and defeat the Ashanti. The chiefs and people who help them, then they mobilize the Ashantis and co and so on to go and defeat them. So today, when our leaders, our democratic leaders, want to steal our resources, and they go and align with Malaysians, Indians, Americans, and whatever, Australians, and they come back and say, oh, this is a foreign gold mine, a mining company. Then they loot Ghana's resources and share it with these foreigners. It is the same thing, only that instead of war, they are using finance. But it's the same oppression of the black man, of the Ghanaian. So that is something I want us to keep in mind. And when they left, some of these houses and Fulanis who were left here were left close to the Ashanti seat of government in order to monitor the Ashantis, to ensure that they never actually asserted their independence. So this festival that was had, this commemoration that was had, the beautiful thing I saw in it is the Hausa and the northern stock, or these people who were left here to kind of monitor and keep Ashanti monarch and check, all swore allegiance to the Ashanti monarch, and which was a beautiful thing, that we are united. We are all now Ghanaians and we have a shared destiny. And so you, the outsiders, beautiful. So that is what.
Yes, yes. I love your message about Africans uniting under one umbrella, and this brings to mind about reparation, because in America, the Black Americans are calling for reparations, and even the whole world, people think it's hard time the British or the West paid for the atrocities and the things they looted. So do you think we have the justification, or we have the moral right to demand reparation Africa, or to Black Africans in the United States of America? How do we think about that?
Yes. Black Africans, or what we now call Black Americans in the United States, have every right to demand reparations for the injustices done to them. The economic injustices, the financial injustices, the human rights abuses, grotesque human rights abuses which were meted out to them. They have every right to demand reparations. So do we, Ghanaians and Africans for that matter, especially West Africans, have every right, legal, moral, financial, economic, whatever you call it, to demand, even religious, to demand reparations from the West. And I want anybody who is listening to this to bear in mind, when people say that if whites are not superior to black people, how come they have developed so fast and so well, and we are so underdeveloped and so destitute? Is it an indication that they are better human beings? No. It's an indication that with Neanderthal genes in their blood, they were more violent and warlike. They defeated us in war, and they stole our livelihood. They stole our youth who were supposed to work and develop our countries, took them to their countries to work for free. And mind you, even today, it is going on. Everywhere you look, social media, internet, TV, radio, you see people posting that if you want to work in Australia, if you want to clean in Canada, if you want to be caregiver in America, come, we'll take you there for free, and you work for 1 or 2 years to pay your travel expenses before you get a freedom. So it is a form of slavery happening even in modern times, which is why they don't want to pay reparations. This is why they don't want to pay reparations. One of the main reasons why, because they see that even today they are still doing it. Why should they pay for the one they did before? That is one part of it. The other part is we are not demanding it forcefully enough. Demanding your rights, or in this case, reparations, is not just about saying it. Organizing conferences to, as people say, drink tea, and then meet important people, and then you just talk, and that is the end. There are things we have to do. There are things the Europeans did. Even the Europeans in America, the Irish, there are things they did. The Japs, the Japanese, there are things they did before they were paid reparations. The Jews, Israelites, there are things they did which made them get reparations. The Okies, Oklahomans, in the US, there are things they did before they got recognition. The Indians, American Indians, they are those I'm talking about. There are things they did before they got reparations. So when we say we want reparations, it is not like the current government is doing, as you are begging them for loans. You yourself, the government, this government, MPP, Akufo-Addo's government itself, is shipping people abroad into slavery, and with another mouth asking for reparations. And you think they are going to take you serious? So we have every right to demand reparations, but it cannot be left there. We have to work at it. And working at it means tackling government or governance, not only in political sphere, in economic, in religious, in educational. Unfortunately, politicians don't understand this perspective. And as long as you don't understand this perspective, if you come to my house and you are very well dressed, and you are manager, I'll treat you differently from when you come to my house and you're drunkard, shabbily dressed. Or if you come to my house, you are sheep, I'll treat you differently from when you come to my house, you are dog. So we have to show that when we are training nurses, we have hospitals to put them in. We have need for these things. We don't train nurses and then at the end of the day, we pass the back door and say we are shipping them to the UK's health system. And then we turn around to say we are demanding reparations from the nurses that you took away 400 years ago. So there are things we have to do.
Yes. But thank you very much. But in to what I earlier said, they said they have a justification, they have right over these artifacts or whatever crime they committed. And the people make an argument that it was even a trade. Let's take the slave. Sometimes I call it because the slave trade. We call it the slave trade. So they said they were on the shorelines, on the coastal areas, and the Africans were killing themselves. They didn't come into the inside Africa to kill anybody. They were basically on the coast. And there are other people. I was in a Zoom meeting with other guys from different countries, and they said the Asante people in particular were responsible for over 30 to 40% of the people who were enslaved, especially in the Americas. And it was the Asantes who sold their own brothers and sisters to the white people. So there is this, and if we want to correct history, we must also to be fair enough and honest enough to tell the truth. So is it true that the Asantes were also responsible for the slave trade? Because they were the people exporting these people or selling these people to the whites?
There are many reasons why that kind of thinking is improper. And because this is a TV interview, I cannot, make it very broad, but I'll try to give you just four reasons why
Okay.
it is improper thinking. Just four. And I'll try to pick the most potent ones. The first one is this. Assuming the British were just sitting at the coast, not going to catch anybody or kidnap anybody, and then somebody has gone to kidnap somebody and come to bring it to you to hide, doesn't it make you also culpable?
It is
That
true.
is one.
But
But
their
they were
argument
not
is
there to
it
just
is a
be
trade,
careful.
and it is as if Africans are solely blaming them, whilst we
So you
didn't
wait.
see our shortcomings.
So you wait. I am saying that if you receive stolen property, it doesn't matter how the person stole it or how bad the person who stole it is. You, the person receiving the stolen property, whether you paid for it or you negotiated for it in any other way, you are as culpable as the person who stole the property.
True.
So, even if the British were just, or the white people were just sitting at the coast and Ghanaians, Ashanti were killing, going to war and kidnapping people or capturing people to come and sell, the white people cannot absolve themselves from the culpability in this trade. Now, the second point is this. That when the British came to West Africa, it is not that they came to West Africa to come and what do you call it? It's not like they came to West Africa to come and buy cocoa. And when they were buying the cocoa, they saw people selling slaves and they say, let's buy some of the slaves. No. When they came here, it was in their holy book, the Bible, that slave trade is good. When you get a slave, buy him, buy them. You can also sell it. It is in the Bible. It was there long before they came here. So it is in their nature. So they can't say when they came, it's the Akans or Ashantis who were capturing people for them to buy. If you are a rich smoker and you go to a town and we find you sitting where they sell weed and you are smoking some, it's very difficult for you to explain that you were just passing by and you saw somebody selling weed. That is why you are going there to smoke. We know you. Your history is that you are a rich smoker already. In this case, the British have it in their holy book, even if you haven't done Western civilization. If you don't know West, the way they developed, I am saying it is in their Bible, and this is also a religious issue. So religiously, economically, historically, they were corrupt in slavery before they came here.
What about the Akans and the Asantis? Because we've all
you wait,
agreed
I'm coming to that.
We've all agreed that what the British did, but we want to also delve into the acts and atrocities committed by our own people.
Yeah, don't worry, I'm coming to that. So the British, I've given you 2 points already. Another point is that if you who is maybe 30 years and somebody who is 15 years, the two of you are found doing something that is bad, isn't it obvious that it's the 30-year-old who is depraving the 15-year-old? The British were stronger. They were a longer civilization, a longer sustained civilization. That's what I mean. And they are in the same trade with the Ashantis. What was really happening is that they were nudging the Ashantis to capture people for them, so that we give you guns. Even today, the civil wars that is going on, Burkina Faso, when they did their coup, haven't you seen the terrorism has almost stopped? It's the
Yes.
same thing in Nigeria. It is the West who are arming this Boko Haram and this whatever. And that is why it is their journalists who are able to go and interview them and then broadcast it and tell us their aim, the aim of the terrorists. If somebody comes to a town or Buasi or Kumasi and he starts killing people and capturing people, how do we know that the person wants this and this is their demand and this is their policy and this is why they are doing it? These are their long-term aims and this is their name, their brand. How do we know that? It is the West which comes to tell us that these people, they are Boko Haram, they say they want secession or they want to implement Sharia. It is the Western media which tells us there are journalists who are able to go there. Are you able to go to the terrorists and interview them? So it is the West who are arming these terrorists to go and kill other people, catch them and bring them to them. Some people deceived others. I'm telling you, like if you go to any town or city or country, the armed robbers who are there, they are in small bands. They all have kingpins who buy the things. You see the cars they seize. Sometimes the car dealer, who is the honjo of the armed robbers, tells them that I want this car or I want this type of car, this year date registration, before they follow the person to go and meet him on the highway and snatch the car. This is the same thing the white people were doing. It started with a Catholic priest called Las Casas, who said that black people will be better slaves in the Americas. So they should catch people, black people. Las Casas was a Spanish priest who was in West Africa, and he brought the idea that if they catch black people and sell them abroad to the West Indies, Americas, they can use them on the farms because they cannot run away because their skin is different from the white people. So when they escape from the farms, it will be easy to identify them that this man is a slave and he's run away. The same way that we make prisoners wear orange suit or blue, this so that when they are running away, everybody can see them. So today, let me give you a parallel today. So the Galamsey that is going on.
Asante wasn't complicit.
I'm saying that if a 30-year-old and a 10-year-old go to have sex,
I understand.
It is the 30-year-old who is arrested, not the 10-year-old. The Ashantis were defenseless. I won't say they are complicit. I am saying that the Ashantis, you see, there were forms of slavery already. We take journalism today. People are paying payola. When they go to the radio stations, they pay payola. Who do you blame for that? Do you blame the journalists or the politicians? It is the politicians' duty to make sure that the journalists are very well paid with very good conditions of service and they will receive bribe.
Yes.
If you are not doing that and you are putting heavy burdens on the media houses to pay huge taxes every day, they are paying about 500 cedis. Registration alone is 5 billion old Ghana cedis. That is 500,000. Before you get your modem, you hire your office and so on. So the ordinary journalist who is taking 1,000 cedis a month, because how else would the media house be able to pay him well? The only way is for him to do ways and means. So whether you call it bribe, payola, or whatever. So it goes, the blame goes right to the doorstep of the government. In the same way, if you take the Galamsey that is going on today, do you go and blame the chiefs? If I'm a chief, I'm there in my town. Somebody has come with a license from government. He's coming to mine his gold. He says, Nana, we'll give you a chair or we'll give you 1,000 cedis or 10,000 cedis a month. Whether you said yes or no, they are going to do their mining. Those chiefs who have disagreed, that is why you have heard many chieftaincy disputes have risen and chiefs are getting shot day in, day out in this Ghana. So, is it the government doing or it is the chiefs doing? Are you going to blame
the reason why I am saying this is when the slave trade was abolished in the West, I think around 1804, 1805, thereabout. Around 1815, 1820, there was this history that the Asante King, I think Oseboshu, or one of them, was having over 50,000 people held as captives or as captives, let's say, in Kumasi alone. And he was trying to, and there was, when they abolished the slavery, Asantes were still selling people to the Dutch, especially, the Dutch, to the people of Netherlands origin. They were still selling, and even it was a letter was written to the British that about Asante wrote this letter saying, how can they abolish a trade which is fetching either side good money? Why do they want to stop it? So it brings to mind that Asantes were getting something from this slave trade. So they accomplice a partner in crime. So
yes,
so you can't demand reparation and act like a victim, whilst you were also a perpetrator.
So let me tell you this today. If we go to the villages and we say the villages have been destroyed, the forests, the farms, the rivers, and so we have to go and repair the villages. Are we going to say the chiefs and the villagers were complicit in the crime of Galamsey, so they don't need repair? They need it.
So that time,
you can hold
Asante was sovereign. Asante was a big state all over, so they didn't deal as a master and a student, that kind of thing. They dealt it with each other as traders. Because the queen representing the whites or the British and Asante representing the Asante Kingdom. So they dealt the trade like grown-up people. So I don't understand why you are saying if someone is 30 years and someone is 15, we should blame the 30 years alone for this because they dealt with each other
as equals.
Yes.
So they may have dealt with each other as equals, but definitely the British were more powerful than the Ashantis.
Yes.
Secondly,
for that one,
everywhere in the world, there is slavery that goes on, the whole world. Slavery is probably as old as humanity.
Yes.
But we are talking about a situation where it was escalated and made glorified and made everyday activity. And I'm telling you that when it comes to that, it is the bigger power, the British, who have to be blamed.
So they abolished this slave trade, but the Asantes were still selling to the Dutch.
I even have a problem with when we say they abolish, because what we have been taught in school that they abolished slavery. Sorry. What we have been taught in school that they abolished slavery. The factors that led to the eventual abolition of slavery is not what we were told. The most important factors is not what we were told. But let me tell you something. When slavery was abolished, the owners of the slaves in Britain were paid reparations. It continued for the monies which they were paid were so huge that for some of them it's only in 2020 that they finished paying. They paid them all the football you have been watching, Arsenal, whatever, Juventus and so on. Some of the money goes to paying the slave traders, the slave owners, the money they lost because their slaves had been released. So when they say they have abolished slavery and they are paying their slave traders, he didn't come and pay the Asante for the slaves he was going to lose or the money he was going to lose. They didn't pay them. So if the two of you are like today, some people come to a town, they are doing galamsey, destroying the river bodies and so on, water bodies. And the chief is complicit because he knows whether he does or not, government is going to allow it. And then one day, all of a sudden, they say galamsey should stop. All the people who government gave them licenses to do galamsey, they should come for payment for the broken or the abrogation of their contract, and they leave the chiefs alone, the chiefs will not be happy because they have already invested in it. That is similar to what you are talking about now. So the chiefs who were left in Africa, West Africa for that matter, they felt left, without the compensation that went to the white slave owners. So that, I think, is what they were complaining about.
Okay. So thank you very much. And this topic is really broad, and I think we can have another time for this topic and delve into the slavery aspects very well.
Okay. In conclusion, I'd like to remind everyone that these artifacts which have been brought back, the practical purposes they are serving is the educational, and that they should be published for us all students everywhere in this country to see these artifacts that they are of old and they were seized. They have been brought back to show that we had our symbol science and ability to make these artifacts before the white man came. But as to the legal and who has the permanent custody of it and so on, that is another matter.
Thank you, Doc. Thank you for having time for us, and we wish to have you in our studios in the future too. And we definitely will go back to this topic. Thank you very much. Right, family, I want you to subscribe to Humanist TV Africa on all our social media handles. Humanist TV Africa on Facebook, Humanist TV Africa on YouTube, and we are also on X as Humanist TV Africa. We have very educative TikTok videos. As we will definitely get some quotes from our dear comrade Dr. Maxwell, and also uploaded on TikTok. So also watch out for this TikTok page. It's already there. We have over 25,000 subscribers on TikTok, and we have very interesting videos there. So you can also subscribe to our TikTok channel. My name is Kwame Apiji Danka, and thank you, Doc. Thank you very much for
thank you
very much. Definitely we will talk another time. So this is how we end the program. Return Asante artifacts, the symbolic relevance. Thank you very much, and see you again. Humanist TV Africa, we are number one.
Tushereke pamoja ushindi kwa ukombozi wetu.